Anyway, welcome to Ancient Oblivion. We're going to be talking about the eye god, the sky god specifically. Thankfully, we didn't get too far into it. Everybody, let's thank Jim for alerting me. I super appreciate that. Sorry about that. I thought I fixed the mic, but I guess not. All right, so what I said before is pay close attention to this shape right here. I just wrote a book, my second book, called Return to Hyperborea, and it's all about this particular island, this shape right here. It's circular-ish, and it's split and divided by 4 rivers with another circle in the middle, right? When you see the circle and then another circle in the middle, this is the bull's eye. This is also known as the doom shape, which is referenced in the Colburn Bible. When people they looked up and they saw images in the heavens, in the atmosphere. They called this particular one the doom shape. This is the terrestrial equivalent of what people saw up in the heavens, which is what we're going to be talking about today. It's a portion of the firmament. I'm going to be discussing alternative cosmology from my perspective and my research. And I'm into hidden history. I'm into thinking about innovative ideas, new and strange and wonderful as they might be, right? Especially when it comes to the nature of reality, the nature of the world that we live on, and where we fit in along all of that, right? So this is basically the Garden of Eden. This is Atlantis. This is Hyperborea. Many different names for this phantom island, right? Many different phantom islands. But this is a main one. When we're talking about the sky god, right, there's always a counterpart, which is the earth god, or sometimes goddess, right? Usually the sky god is portrayed as male, and then the earth god or goddess is portrayed as female. Those can switch back and forth depending upon the perceptions of the people involved, right? But this is going to be an important shape for you to remember, because how we begin is how we will end. We will come right back to this place and this shape, because it's directly related to the eye god, right? Now, this is a blow-up version of this. Mercator originally did like a flat map that you see above me. There's a little insert. This is the insert blown up. I think this is an interesting version of this island at the middle of the world, only because it has a slightly different shape to it. You can see that there's like a peninsula that comes out on this side as well as down here. So I think that that's really interesting too. But let's get into the actual sky god, the eye god, right? The eye in the sky. We're going to correlate all of this, right? Now, if we take a look at ancient coins, this is seen throughout the medieval times, throughout the Dark Ages, throughout even the Middle Ages and whatnot, where we have strange imagery, weird paintings, things that seem really out of place and strange to us today, really just reflecting to us that it was a different world, not just a different time, but the entire world and the conditions of that world were altogether different. During the Dark Ages, they believed wholeheartedly and witnessed things like monsters and mutants and strange, wonderful flying serpents and dragons and stuff, and they had an altogether different form of architecture to adapt to the strange times that they lived in. So this is our first example. This is a coin. It says it's from 1594, if you take a look right here. But if you look at the 1, right, that does not look like a 1. That doesn't even look like an eye that could be interpreted as a 1 compared to this eye over here, right? So many people believe that this is in the year of, and then J, 594. So that's something to keep in mind too. Like what time is it really? Where are we in time? Some of us, are what I call the lost tribe of the Tree of Life. Our ancestors hearken from that central island up here at the top of the world that vibrates differently. They have a different vibe. And therefore, those who were born there, their resonant energy signature, their soul, their spirit, resonated at that similar frequency, which is an island, which is paradise, which is full and flooded with good, positively filled and positively charged energy for an entire eon until something happens and they're forced out and they must leave paradise. And then they become nomadic as they travel in a circle around the Southlands trying to find places where they may fit in. So we get back to this. I want you to take note of, not only does it show the name Yahweh, the Tetragrammaton, which literally starts with I, right? I am, people translate that as. But they put it in a dome, a bowl shape, an inverted dome up here at the top of the picture. This represents the firmament itself up here, and then an inverted portion of the firmament. Directly below it, and you can see it's radiating light, right? So this is, at the very least, as an eye god or an all-seeing god or a sky god, Yahweh is definitely one of the top ones, right? And I'm not here to, debate who Yahweh is or how the name is pronounced or anything like that. All I'm pointing out is how it's portrayed as this inverted dome. Many people mistake this as being, oh, it's just a portion of the sun. It's sun worship. Going back as far as time can tell, they worshiped the sun. No, there were many different things called suns in antiquity. Right now, we're just used to one point of focus. We call that the sun. But there were many different light sources going further back in time. And historic records testify to that across time and across nations across the world. So we have an inverted dome at the top, and underneath it is a sword. This is the symbol. This is the symbol that you're going to see all over the place. It is a beam, a rod, a pillar, a sword that goes up and touches an eye or a circle or other things that can be represented by that, right? So this is really interesting. The year 594, or people might say 1594, depending on what you believe in. That's actually the birth of somebody, but down here is the actual date. This is I-632, or whatever letter that is. 1632, I guess, right? So that's one example. That's the first one of this eye shape in the sky. Let's take a look at another example over here. Another old coin. At the top, we have the Tetragrammaton once again. Yahweh, or Yahweh, or Jehovah, it depends on your pronunciation. But it is up here at the top of the coin, which represents the firmament itself. And then we have bursting rays of light. This is not just sunlight. This is like an explosion. These are bursting rays of light. This is something altogether different than the point of focus we call the sun. And directly underneath it, we have a beam. Off in the distance on the horizon, something that looks like it's shooting up and getting bigger and getting high up into the atmosphere until it almost looks like it's growing wings that go off in each direction, right? Well, this is also like clouds that you'll see wrapped around this bowl shape that holds the name of Yahweh, or the Tetragrammaton. And you're going to notice this a lot of cloud symbolism surrounding the name of various sky gods and whatnot. But we have a beam and a pillar that goes straight up to the heaven, to the firmament. What's up, Nick? Welcome to my channel. Good to see you. This is also a torch. This is symbolized in many different ways. A lighthouse, a torch, a pillar, a goddess, if you will, right? This is also the phoenix symbolism. This is the cosmic bird. These are things people witnessed the world across. You couldn't help but to see this in the sky under altogether different conditions whenever all of the gases within the Earth are released during a depressurization event. They ionize, rushing to the surface, squeezing through crevices and cracks and canyons and cave systems and volcanoes, only to erupt into pillars of light that reach up into the heavens and appear to be holding up the very firmament itself. Here's a close-up version of that exact same thing. You can see it shoots up and it pierces through. So this pole right here is in the front, which means that this cloud deal goes around behind it, right? All right, and then next up, we've got another coin. I'm going to show you some coins to start off with, right? Now, this one's really interesting because we have a lion, which oftentimes, if you look up, the origin or the etymology of the word lion, it's directly related to flowing, right? Which is where we get love and things like that. Also, it represents plasma, the flow of electricity, and things of that nature. When it's holding on to a torch, it represents light, right? And this is the king light, the lion that has the crown on its head. The king light is the light of the world, the light that lights up the entire world. The biggest, most powerful beam of energy that shoots up from cavernous systems on Earth, which is Mount Meru, which is located at the North Pole, at the navel of the Earth, at the axis mundi, at the center place. That shoots right up. You have another cloud that surrounds this name up here, and they only show a portion of it, right? Because they purposefully want it to be a bowl or an inverted dome that is connected to or a part of the actual upside down bowl above us, which is the firmament, which is the seal that separates us from the heavens or whatnot. Here's another one. This one's got Jehovah or Jehovah up here, right? And this one's got the name, the tetragrammaton, with these bursts of light, right? But we also have, like, all of these clouds and stuff off to the side, weird looking fiery lightning, which to me symbolizes plasma, coming down, and then a strong wind, which appears to be going, we'll say, from west to east or from left to right. Then what looks like a town. Just check out this town real quick. The town is prepared. Oh, somebody just donated a bunch of memberships in the chat. Cake Town. Hey, high five to Cake Town, everybody. Let's say thank you to Cake Town if you received one of those channel memberships. Now, this town, you see that there's all these little steeples, right? These little steeples right here. Every building has one of these steeples with the little ball at the bottom, right? These are lightning rods. These are on this city that is directly underneath this cataclysmic event, and they built them and they erected them purposefully. This architecture in the ancient world, in the old world, is a form of antiquitech in and of itself. They built it because they had to keep strong electrical bolts or thunderbolts or whatever from discharging and blowing up their houses or petrifying people or setting their cities ablaze in random fires and whatnot, right? This looks to me like a wave. This looks like water that's getting sucked up and then just pushed off to the side. Very reminiscent of the parting of the Red Sea when the water just rose up and parted, right? That is due to depressurization of the atmosphere. So up here, what I'm going to tell you a little early on is that this represents the gate of the heavens, or Heaven's Gate, just like the famous cult from the 90s or whatever. There's an opening. It's a star gate. It's an opening in the firmament itself. Whenever the hollow earth depressurizes, all of that pressure in the form of gas rushes throughout the ground that we walk on, and then it explodes and it comes in and it adds pressure to our atmosphere up here on the surface. And then when enough pressure builds up and we go through another neutral point, all of that gas will rush up to the apex of the dome, the apex of the firmament itself, and it will burst forth, ripping open the firmament and causing our atmosphere to depressurize. When that happens, according to Archimedes' principle, we have an increase in buoyancy everywhere on the surface world, which means if it's strong enough, things like water, which are not tied down or secured or held down whatsoever, they will just keep on rising. The waves will grow, getting higher and higher and higher, and any amount of wind really would be enough to just, nudge them in the right direction. So what we're witnessing here is a cataclysmic event, a worldwide cataclysmic event that introduced a major influx of electricity and electromagnetism into our atmosphere, so that those times that the people lived in whenever the atmosphere was electrically amplified became what we now call fantasy and magic times and legendary times. Unfortunately, we project the modern world and our modern conditions onto the past, so we don't think it's possible for magic to have existed, or monsters or creatures or mutants or whatever it may be, right? Now, here's another example of two different coins. This one has the lion on one side, but on the other side over here, if I make it a little bigger and scooch it a bit over, you'll see we have the tetragrammaton, once again, Yod, He, Vav, He, right there, and then an explosion. That's what this is. See how it's kind of drawn in like a cartoon-like comic book fashion, right? These are not beautiful, warm rays of the sun. Here we have the same symbolism. We got the houses with the steeples or lightning rods. We have what looks like rain or large things falling down from the sky, possibly pieces of the firmament itself. Huge hailstones, as it talks about in the Bible, weighing like millstones, like dropping like millstones. And then the water rising up again and then becoming a tidal wave. This is a cataclysm. This is an apocalyptic event that happens. Here's another one. This is even more cartoony looking. Look at that. It's a hole in the sky. The sky rips open. That's why you have all the way around it, you have a circle of clouds that surrounds it. Why? Because when you have rapid depressurization, it instantly turns the air into fog and into mist. And that mist will descend and it will come down upon these, dark age cities, and they will be enveloped in fog and mist for years to come. You notice that they also have, every building has a spike on the top. This is because the positive ions flow up through the building, and then they shoot out of the top of the spike and dissipate the negative charge above, right? Lessening the chance of a lightning to actually strike. So that's pretty interesting too. This one's way more cartoony. It's more like pow. You know what I mean? Like that's an explosion in the sky, basically, not the sun. People knew how to depict the sun. They knew how to draw the sun. Oftentimes, you'll actually see this followed by, on the right, a picture of the sun, and on the left, a picture of the moon, or vice versa, especially in Freemasonic symbolism. Here's a more obvious one of it, too. This one looks like the sky itself is cracking open with a big fat hole right there in the middle. Hey, Abby says, thank you for the tunnel tour. Oh, you're welcome. That was fun. I like to explore with you guys. So this one right here looks like a big fat hole in the sky, the firmament itself cracking right open. And then we have the two witnesses on either side, two lions, two lights, which I believe are anode and cathode mountains, which also emit their own little pillars or poles, right? We'll probably talk about that more here in a bit as well. Moving on to the next one. Oh, this is just a close-up of that exact same one. So you can see it. It looks like the sky is cracked open with a big fat hole right there in the middle of it, right? Now, that's two-dimensional. That's just a circle. So you have to imagine, you have to use your imagination, right? Is it just two-dimensional? Is it just a circle? Is this Nibiru? Is it a sphere, right? If there's a firmament, and this is a portion of that firmament, and if it follows suit with the other depictions of the same name, this is dome-shaped. This is an eye that is protruding down, or it can be seen and was seen as an eye, as the eye, actually, as the all-seeing, all-watching eye that is directly above Mount Meru. Now, here we have it again, the Tetragrammaton, surrounded by all these clouds, depressurization, fog, basically, and all of the light rays that are coming off of it. This was a light source. This was at the apex of the world, of the firmament. This was at the top of the world. This was unmoving because it's an actual physical part of the firmament, which I don't believe moves. Okay, I know there's theories out there. People think that the firmament moves. That's totally fine. But if it doesn't, then this would stay in the same place all of the time. This would be the North Star. This would be the age of Kronos, the horned one. This would be the age of Saturn. This would be, there's many different names, many different sky gods and one-eyed gods and whatnot. This is Odin, right? Od, meaning eternal, and then On, meaning of the, or of the Eternals. Then, of course, you have the sword, right? This is the blue beam that shoots up out of Mount Meru. This is Excalibur. This is your singing sword, your magic sword, etc., the sword that kills the dragon. All of the plasma that comes down out of this depressurization point up here, it is separate. It will keep on dividing and dividing and dividing, and dividing as a signature of the enemy, of Satan, of the bad guy, right? It comes down, red spectrum plasma, probably magenta looking, and it divides and it keeps going down. That's opposite, or in opposition to, the straight and narrow, which is the beam, the pillar, the holy arrow, the cruciform, and the tree of life, and so on and so forth. This does not move, right? These, they go around the earth, dancing around, walking around, attracted to different places, and as the electricity grounds itself. Here's another one. This one's a little more blurry, but you can see at the very top, there's the Tetragrammaton, the inverted dome up here. They very well could have made a complete circle. They purposefully do not, and I'll show you more examples of that, and I'll show it to you. Here you have a knight at the bottom with a sword directly underneath it as well. Next up, here's another example, another ancient coin with the Tetragrammaton at the top. If you could see it up there. Kind of hard to see. There it is. So the Tetragrammaton at the top, all of the clouds surrounding this dome that is facing straight down towards us. Welcome to my channel. And then all the light that's coming down, and then you have like this armada underneath it. Next up, we've got another depiction in the form of a coin. This one's of particular interest to me because around this would be looking from a perspective directly under the depressurization point, or that inverted dome. Say you're standing on Mount Meru at the center of the world at the North Pole, and you look straight up when this is happening. This is something similar to what you would see. You probably wouldn't see a bunch of Hebrew letters in the middle of that black hole or black sun in the sky. But what you would see is a bunch of plasma dancing its way, electricity all the way around it, like a crown of thorns, right? Which goes on top of the light of the world, which is Jesus, which is, to me, the beam of light that shoots up out of Mount Meru. Now, this one's interesting too. On the left, this coin over here depicts the pillars of Hercules. That's what that is to me, okay? The two pillars, the two columns are in essence the pillars of Hercules. They are the limitations of the known world. When you go through them or when you pass them, you are going into this island right here, okay? So this is probably one of the pillars of Hercules right up here, right? And there's probably another one on the other side. This ocean region is known as Septentrio, which I have translated to mean the seven trees, okay? Trio, not meaning three, but related to deru in Proto-Indo-European, which means trees, okay? Septenderu or Septentrio or Trion, they would say. This is because there are most likely 7 plasma volcanoes on this circular island that surround the one in the middle. And then we have 2 extras, anode and cathode, on either side, which create their beams of light as well. So these are the anode and the cathode, Adam and Eve, positive and negative. Jesus is the cross in the middle. Then you have a repentant thief, positive, and an unrepentant thief, negative, anode and cathode on either side. This is interesting because you can see they drew beams coming up and snaking their way around each other, right? This is electrical arcing. It's attracted to it itself, basically, as it goes up and spirals up into the heavens. And then you have like a dome at the top or a crown, etc., right? But even more interesting, over here we have a pillar and a pillar, and then at the top we have that same inverted dome with the name Yahweh, or the Tetragrammaton at the top once more. Here's a drawing where we basically have like an Eden-like paradise, right? Lots of animals. There's a unicorn. Unicorns are also real. There's many different animals that once existed that people don't consider to be real today, but they very much are. So this is basically the Garden of Eden. What do we have directly above it? We have the inverted dome up here in the firmament. It's kind of hard to see, right? Well, it's right above my head now. This is the inverted dome with the Tetragrammaton right above it. But if you look closely, we also see a beam of light. You see that? That's why when Jesus is born, when they depict Jesus being born at the nativity scene, you almost always have that whole star that the wise men followed or whatever, but it's a beam of light that reaches all the way down to where Jesus was born. It's a terrestrial beam of light. Some scholars have, theorized that this is like cosmic light that's shooting down, it's electrically arcing down to, from another planet or whatever. I put forth the opposite theory, which is this is terrestrial plasma that is shooting upwards towards the heaven and then conforming to that inverted dome shape at the top, branching out and creating wings of a cosmic bird, or the crux of the cruciform shape, right? The cross shape, or a hammer, or, the Irminsul of Saxon lore, the world tree. Here's another painting of the Tetragrammaton. This one is the doom shape. You have the 8-pointed star represented by like the handles of this wheel or whatnot, right? And then you have the circle on the inside, red as it should be, because that's the color of ionized hydrogen, which is what I believe is on the other side of our dome. And then we have the outer circle. The outer circle is the edge of the inverted dome above us, okay? That's the edge, okay? The inner circle is depressurization point, or the hole in the eye, or the iris of the eye. This is why it's also known as an evil eye. It's a red eye, okay? Which has the ability to overpower energetically the souls of the weak, or those that resonate with evil already, and they become what I call plasma possessed. Here's another interesting mural. This one's done on the top of a dome of a ceiling, right? You'll see this quite often. They put these domes in there, and then they paint on the domes scenes that depict a depressurization of our atmosphere. Oftentimes people are getting sucked up, flying up into the heavens. There's angels or presidents or gods or people up there. And then you have the name up here with the triangle, right? The triangle can represent many different things. I don't want to get too much into the triangle right now, but quite often the eye and the triangle go hand in hand. They put them together. One is a pyramid, which is, it means light on the inside or fire on the inside, or amid. And that's the unfinished pyramid, which is a volcano, basically, that is full of fire and light. And it's triangular in shape. So they combine those two things to give you the whole Illuminati, all-seeing eye within the triangle deal, right? In other ancient depictions, for example, this one looks like Sinai, Mount Sinai. right? You have basically Mount Meru, and then above it, you have all of this electricity all over the place. Clearly, electricity zigging and zagging and winding its way around. And then you have a big fat hole in the heavens or in the sky with the name of Yahweh or Tetragrammaton up there in the heavens, right? This is the Sky Father. This is, there's a cosmic wedding between earth and sky, right? Whenever they give their life-giving elements, which is electromagnetism, which is plasma, which is spirit, right? And they merge together, and there is a clash between them. There is a wedding, a cosmic wedding between earth and sky when the dome above us rips open and depressurizes. Now, oftentimes that plasma that comes out, the light that comes out, it will wrap around this inverted dome. So if you have like a depressurization point, the plasma will spread out and it will follow along that inverted dome, and then other plasma will leak out and it'll start building up and it'll start getting lower and lower. So oftentimes this is depicted as the very hand of God reaching out of the sky, reaching down out of the sky. And they put this into an inverted dome at the top of these murals, right? You'll see this all over the place where they have what is depicting the firmament symbolically. And then at the top, there is an inverted dome or a bowl shape. This is the eyeball, right? You ever see like there was a movie that came out where like it was like a horror movie and they had like a hand that was coming out of someone's eye or whatever. That's this symbolism right here. Now, here's another depiction of the same inverted dome, we'll call that, with a hand that is reaching down out of it. The hand of God, the plasma hand. Now, here's another depiction, another ancient depiction of this inverted dome up here in the heavens, red in the center. You'll also notice a lot of these ancient sun gods are red, okay? Take a look at the sun today. Tell me if it's red. And don't go during sunset or sunrise, but just look up at high noon. Tell me if that sun is red. It won't be, okay? It'll be white because we're going through a color spectrum shift, right? But there were different suns. This is a completely different sun. The sun where plasma comes out of it, hands are depicted coming out of the sun and reaching down, you know, sometimes giving life or bringing things to life. That is not the focal point that goes around and moves about. This was a solid structure that was illuminated, that stayed in one place, right? And it branched off into like 8 different beams of light that gave us the nautical star. And this is why they use that, because people can look at this huge red glowing object up in the heavens in the form of this inverted dome, and they could know where they were because that was the North Star. That was Saturn. That was the unmoving star. Now here's some really interesting depictions of the same thing as well as the beam of light from areas like Siberia, Russia, and places in that portion of the world. Now we're going to take a quick close-up view of the inverted dome at the top of this. This is the nativity scene. And that's as high as I can go up on it. But basically, you're just going to have to trust me. It cuts off right there. The image cuts off. I can't zoom in anymore. But it's an inverted dome, okay? And sometimes I will show you a blue one. Now, I've talked about how it can go from red to blue many different times, okay? So I'm not going to get into that too much right now. But something else you'll notice is that the stars are right here on this inverted dome. Why would they do that? Why would they put that there unless this is like a hole in the sky and you're seeing all the stars so far away, if you believe in that? Or this is what creates and causes little smaller points of focus, right? The light is passing through this inverted dome and it's hitting little mini domes on top of it, and it's redirecting the light, causing little points of focus that we call stars. And then the plasma above it is swirling around, so those stars swirl around in like manner. Now, we have another beam of light. Remember we talked about the nativity scene, Jesus being born, and that star up in the heavens with that real long beam of light that shoots all the way down. This depicts Jesus being born in a volcano. Okay? This is what this is to me. This is a cave. You could call it a cave or whatever. This is a volcano, right? On one side, we have an anode, and the other side, we have a cathode mountain on either side, which is appropriate. Jesus is born inside of the cave of saviors, inside of the cave of Zeus, in Psychros cave, the cave of light, the cave of treasures, the cave of wonders, the cave of Adam, and so on and so forth. And here he is mummified or whatever, right next to Mary. And you have that blue beam of energy that shoots up. Ionized oxygen. This is what I believe it is so far. is a terrestrial beam of light that shoots up in the form of ionized oxygen. And it shoots all the way up and it will conform to that shape above it, wrapping around and creating the vav, the nail. You can see it. Let me make it a little bigger. You can see it's a nail shape, right? Imagine this is the head of the nail, the top of the nail. This is the beam, the spike that comes out, right? Another one. We'll go on to another similar type of image. This one you can clearly see right here, an inverted dome, right? The doom shape, the dome shape. And this one, the light shoots down here, but then it splits off into three. This could be anode, cathode, and Mount Meru at the middle. Either way, Jesus is inside of a cave that kind of resembles like a rocky heart, being born in the earth, okay? Coming up out of the earth. Here's another one. Now, this one is of particular interest to me because they didn't just put this inverted little dome up here at the top where the image cuts off, where people could just imagine that it's a full circle or whatever, or like a planet or anything like that. They didn't. They put it lower so you can see clearly it's affixed to the firmament in this shape. I can't see it. Well, anyways, there it is right there, right? You can see it's a dome shape. It's an opening. It's a portion of the firmament that faces downwards. This is an eye facing down directly above Mount Meru, which is what this symbolically represents. And then the beam of light that shoots up out of this plasma volcano, reaching up to the heavens. There's a lot of other stuff going on here too, but we've kind of broken that down before. Here's another really good example of that inverted dome up in the heavens. This one cuts it off too. This one shows you it's not a complete circle. This is a bowl shape that is facing down, like an eye looking down at all of the people, right? Directly above Mount Meru, and we have the light coming down, splitting once again. Little baby Jesus mummified inside. This is also Osiris, right? Osiris was the first mummy. Now, here's another depiction of it. We've got the mother, the son, possibly the father over here. We've got all these weird looking mountains in the background, and then an inverted dome at the top. You see that right there? Another inverted dome. Now look at that. They put the stars in the inverted dome. Interesting. This is most likely what we see projecting like little starlights as it moves around, as the light inside of that, cup or bowl or crater, however you want to see it, is moving about above us, and it's causing the stars to circle around our heads. So they put the stars up there, which is appropriate. This is also, I believe, a part of this is what causes the projection that we call the moon. Now, it's an interesting coincidence that there's approximately 10,000 craters that you can see with the naked eye when you look at the moon. Approximately. There's also approximately 10,000 stars in the nighttime sky that you can see with the naked eye. It's an interesting correlation. Now, next up, let's check out this next image. Another one that shows the inverted dome at the very top. I'll scooch it over a little bit here. You can see this blue inverted dome with a beam of energy coming down, shooting through these mountaintops and going down to the place where Jesus would be born, Mount Meru. Now, here's another one. This one's more of a Renaissance medieval type painting where they show you an inverted dome, the stars, little dots. You see those little white dots up there? So they put little white dots representing stars on this inverted dome, nowhere else, not on the firmament or anywhere out here, but up on this inverted dome. They also put what appears to be God or some type of sky god or I God, right? Or Yahweh or Ihava, right? I am. Or I am the eye in the sky, the all-seeing eye. And they're all looking up. This guy's praying to it. He's looking up at it. It's got this blue circular outline. I do discuss that. I don't know if I should really get into that now, but since I mentioned it, I'll give you the gist of it. The time will come whenever our sun, which is going through a color spectrum shift, it's going to get brighter and brighter and brighter until eventually it transgresses the northern tropics, and it will spiral its way to right above Mount Meru, and it will settle over this shape, and we'll have this great conjunction. The sun, the moon, and this invisible shape up there in the sky will create a triple eclipse, basically, as they all come together, and then they'll appear to be shot with an arrow or a holy arrow from the earth, which is Vishnu in Hinduism, with his holy bow or whatever, shooting up and hitting this eye in the sky, hitting the bull's eye. This thing also goes through its own phases, just like our moon does, which is appropriate because I believe this is what causes the projection that we see called the moon. So this also will go through its own phases. This is how they kept track of time during the magical times, during the forgotten times in the ancient world. It wasn't the passing of the sun. It wasn't lunar calendar or anything. It was this up in the sky because there was no sun. There was no moon. It couldn't be seen. There was too much fog and mist the world across. The world was covered in it. If you look up the Dark Ages, you'll see. Academics admits that much of the world was covered in a fog. They glaze over that. They don't really, get into detail as to why that was, but I'm telling you it's because of atmospheric depressurization. Here's another one. This one is, a little more Eastern looking, a little more Islamic in nature, but we have this inverted dome at the top up here. So an inverted dome, and then what looks like some sort of beam or pillar that reaches up to it. Similar like fashion, right? This would be the Black Rock. This right here. This would be a huge mountain, a black rock with an army coming out of it. This would be something similar to Gog and Magog. If you have researched those, there will be an army that comes up out of the earth. And there will be a war. There'll be a great war. It'll be Ragnarok. Everything on Earth, on the surface world, will be at war. From animals to beasts to monsters to mutants to people to giants to little people, survivors and stuff, to angels to properties of the atmosphere to, things that people don't even know what they are. It's also interesting to me how they depict like the sky color during this time. You notice how it's a gold, like the background? Right? That's the golden age, right? We go through color spectrum changes. Here's another one. You can see that there's this godlike figure at the top up here with an inverted dome with a blue lining to it. This is also Huitzilopochtli from Aztec mythology, the sun god Huitzilopochtli. This is when the sun stops right over Mount Meru and the middle portion of it is dark, and all that light that's hitting the inverted dome doesn't hit any of the bent portions or the bowl portions of the dome. It only hits the corona. It only hits the edges, the circle, that outer circle. So we see it light up, and it's so hot, and it's such focused light. It's basically a laser that it turns blue, because that's the color spectrum that light will turn to when it becomes very hot. Then we have these two witnesses on either side, anode and cathode. We have a clear volcano right there, right? All right, here's another reference to the inverted dome, the eye in the sky. This one also has the blue corona around it. This one has people inside of it. If this is a physical structure, as I suppose, and put forth the theory that the dome, the firmament, is not just a bowl upside down above us, but it has different parts to it, different craters and domes on the actual dome above us, which affect how light appears and how the luminaries appear and how they move above us too. But if this is the actual physical moon, not the projection of it, then it's very possible that there are lunar people or, otherworldly people that live up there, either on it or on the other side of it, right? And when it cracks open, or when the moon cracks open, the real one, life comes through. It comes pouring into our world. Many things will leave this world, the surface world, as depicted here by all these people who seem to be just floating up into the heavens. There's a bunch of dead bodies down here. I'm not real quick to say that these are just like the ghosts of the people that died down here, but more like this is an apocalyptic event. You're going to have a lot of death on the surface, and then other people will get sucked up into the sky. It's a rapture. It's the traditional rapture event, right? The air depressurizes, the atmosphere depressurizes, buoyancy increases due to Archimedes' principle, and things float. Things lose their weight. We go through zero gravity for a time as a portion of this apocalyptic cycle. Next up, another example. We've got Jesus. Looks like he's juggling with the deadlights, basically. You'll notice these three circles. His halo counts as one of them, okay? There's always these three circles that are also related to this particular place. Now, below that place is paradise. Below that place is where the god Mercury, which is symbolized by that blue beam that shoots up, and Mercury's staff and whatnot, those people made their living off of bartering. They were traders. This three circles is the mark of a trader. It's the mark, not a traitor like someone who betrays you, but a traitor, someone like you go to a pawn shop. And this is the symbol for pawn shops. 3 balls, 3 circles, usually golden in color, just like you see here. And then this is Jesus, obviously, but he represents the blue beam that shoots up and reaches up to this inverted dome above us, this other world. This is Atlas as well, the beam, the giant, the titan that holds up the very sky. Doesn't hold up the earth, but the portion of the sky that we call the firmament. You also notice it's blue, and there seem to be some squigglies, possibly electricity or something that's happening up there. This is also interesting too. There's just the tile. You see the tile in the background? It's got like these arrows that all point towards a circle in the middle. That's symbolic for paradise, getting to the center place, getting to the middle place, which is a safe haven from this apocalyptic cycle. It's the Garden of Eden, basically. Here's another version of this. You've got the 3 golden balls once again, the sun, the moon, the invisible one, Rahu, however you want to call it, some weird broccoli trees, and then we have the inverted blue dome, a piece of the sky, a piece of the firmament, which is inverted looking down at us. You see that? All right. Now, here's another one. We've got Jesus looking up, praying to his Father. Jesus represents positive, good terrestrial energy that comes up out of the earth. And I'm not saying good or evil. I'm just saying energetically speaking, they are positive and negative. The negative charge up here represented by his Father, Yahweh, who is facing down in another dome, an inverted dome up there in the heavens. You see that? Right there. They also used to have some weird looking trees back during the Renaissance times, medieval times. You ever look at those pictures? Take a look at some of those trees. They look like giant asparagus, like the plant life. Not only was the animal life much different, they had monstrous sized animals, strange animals, mutated humans and animals, entire tribes and communities of them because of the influx of radioactivity and stuff that happens in our world. But the plants also bloomed differently. And we had different types of plants and stuff that bloom under different conditions and grow to gigantic sizes. Here's another one of some sort of saintly person who is juggling the stars that are attached to this inverted dome, this inverted blue dome, the eye that faces down towards us. This is of particular interest because if you count these, there are 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 stars. Sometimes referred to as the 7 sisters, mistakenly the Pleiades of the constellation that we see. However, as above, so below. These reflect 7 other beams that are around paradise from 7 plasma volcanoes known as septentrion or septentrio that shoot up and are reflected in this object up there in the heavens. If this object, a portion of our sky, the firmament, is made out of crystal clear ice and you illuminate that from below, you get a mirror. It will be a reflective surface. You can look up and see what is all around you below. This is how I believe ancient cartographers were able to map out entire sections that people thought were unknown parts of the world without ever leaving home, so to speak. They simply look up at the mirror above them, which is now being lit up from terrestrial beams of light the world across. And they look up and they can see where paradise is. They can see all the different places and what the continents look like. Obviously, there's going to be some abnormalities, in which case we would see that reflected on various maps, which we do. Let's see. All right, let's continue on. Oh, here's another depiction of it. This time it's an upside down triangle, and it's the tetragrammaton at the top of a dome up here. Right? Now, this upside down dalet, or triangle, in ancient Paleo-Hebrew, or Phoenician, this is how it was drawn, okay? This represents a doorway, this triangle shape. It's also called a delta. That's why they use delta force and all that when it comes to space, because they're trying to force their way through the delta, or the firmament. They're trying to open up the firmament to get out of here, because people only live to be like 75 years old these days, okay? These are offspring and the lineage of immortals who dropped down out of the heavens and came from the heavenly Elysian fields, or heaven itself, or space, or however you want to say it, where conditions are altogether different that allow them cellular regeneration, that allow them to be essentially immortal in comparison. But once you're trapped under the dome, The pressure starts to build. All of the life-giving gases and whatnot start to dissipate and start to go down into the bowels of the earth as the earth itself charges, right? So this is the Dalet. This is the door. In the ancient times, they would draw a straight line or sometimes a curved line representing the very firmament itself, and then they would draw a bubble underneath it. This gave you the letter D that we see today. It's just crooked, right? But whenever they're carving it into hard structures like rock and stuff, sometimes that just became straight lines, and it became a triangle, basically, or a Dalet. And then you can see the clouds surrounding it as well, depressurization clouds, fog, mist, etc. Here's another dome inside of a large church structure. And inside of this dome, when you look up from within, you can see they have the exact same symbolism. So they have this inverted blue dome at the top, an eyeball with a depressurization point at the middle, represented by Jesus's halo right here. I'm assuming that's Jesus. And then you have all these like angels and stuff like that. Sometimes they'll show cherubs that are just like little baby heads with wings attached on the side. These are like ball lightning, plasmoids, different forms of streaking plasma, Medusa's hair, snakes, right? Serpents and stuff, seraphim. And then of course, right underneath it, you would have the cross. But it's not just the cross, is it? It should be a plasma volcano, which is the trunk of the tree of life, Yggdrasil, in Norse mythology. So let's check it out. We look down and we have what looks like a trunk of a tree right here. That's sort of cut off in a circular fashion right there, because this is a plasma volcano. Mount Meru is what I call a plasma volcano. Here's another medieval painting depiction of Jesus having something to eat, and then you have this triangle once again with the eye on the inside. This is the all-seeing eye within the triangle, within the Dalet, within the opening, the door to heaven, the heaven's gate, etc., and so on and so forth. This is not the sun. Okay, this is not the point of focus that moves around in our world today. That's changing colors and getting brighter and brighter. And there were many different suns or light sources in the ancient world. This is not it. This is something altogether different. Here's another representation of the inverted dome, or the eye in the sky. At the very top, you can see the woman praying, and then you have the tetragrammaton right there, written in squiggly form, probably representing plasma, I'm guessing. The depressurization clouds, the outer circle, and then the inner circle, the actual depressurization point, or the hole in the sky, the hole in the firmament. Freemasons also used to put this on their aprons. So when they wear their aprons, it didn't always look like an envelope, okay? It didn't always look like an M or whatever, right? Originally, many times it looked more like this. They would have an inverted dome right here, a little flap at the top, and they would make sure to put an eyeball right there in the middle. This is the all-seeing eye, okay? This is the inverted dome that is fixed to the apex of the firmament. So a regular shaped bowl, right, that is attached to an upside down bowl at the top, right? And it's looking down at us. Now on this, you can clearly see, right, that they have the moon. So that's not the moon. We have the sun. So that's not the sun. That is a different light source altogether. We have lots of different symbolism here too, including the anode, the cathode, the pillars of, Joachim and Boaz, or however you want to pronounce the different names for that. You also have like the square and the compass right behind my head right here. This represents Mount Meru shooting up at the top, the all-seeing eye at the top of Mount Meru or above Mount Meru, the eye in the pyramid, etc. And then the square represents the earth. Okay, the earth is usually seen as being solid, which is represented by the shape, the square. All right, next up, let's continue on. Here's another one. This is an ancient, well-preserved Freemasonic Freemasonic apron, right? So you see the same type of deal. They have an inverted dome that goes all the way down. Directly at the middle of it, you have the all-seeing eye, the depressurization point, the inverted dome above us. You have their signature, their logo, which we've just went over, and then a ladder directly underneath that. That represents the anode and cathode going up, or the main beam in the middle, and the electrical arcing that happens between them. There's probably 7 stars here. I haven't counted any of this. Let's continue Here's another Freemasonic apron. Same type of deal. The corona being blue up there on the inverted dome. A star in the middle, which is the only physical star. The actual physical star is the inverted dome at the top, at the heavens. A portion of our firmament that lights up. Over here we have the sun. So that star is not the sun. We have the moon. We've got the anode and cathode pillars on either side. Here's another example of it, right? The flap representing the inverted dome, the anode and cathode pillars, the ladder, the key, all of this stuff is symbolic of these events that happen at the north. Now, this is interesting too, because check out this sun over here. It almost looks like there's a cross in the sun. People have seen crosses in both the sun and the moon. Well, that's interesting, right? Why would people have reported a cross being seen in the sun, like Constantine, or in the moon, right? Just as we read about this happening in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles, a cross was seen in the moon, right? That's because, it makes sense to me that they come from the same source, something up above that has a cross in it, or is reflecting a cross shape in it. Here's another one. Now, this one's really interesting because we have the pillars and we have all that same stuff, a blue inverted dome shape up here, but then this almost kind of looks a lot like this. Don't you think? Right? It looks like land or something that's being portrayed up here at the top. I don't know what that is, but it is a circle and it has another little circle inside of it. And to me, it looks oddly familiar. And then here's another version, right? Another flap, the inverted dome, the all-seeing eye, the goddess of wisdom or Sophia, the central pillar, the central beam that shoots up. We've got the anode and cathode beams. We've got this structure that represents the Tower of Babel, Mount Meru, and so on and so forth. Here's another version of it. We've got the Gimel, or the G, at the center, God, if you will, the inverted dome, the moon over here, the sun over here, anode and cathode pillars, and then we have this ancient conception of Hebrew cosmology, right? And this is just one interpretation, but in general, this is what the Hebrews thought of when they thought of our world. This was our world according to the Hebrew people, okay? As is rewritten and cartoonified by whoever drew this, right? We have the underworld, Sheol. This is an empty inner earth place that's much bigger than how it's depicted right here, okay? This is the hollow earth. This is Tartarus. This is Hades. This is the inner portion of the earth. This is the upside down from where we are up here, okay? You can go down, and you notice how they have three main entrances coming up out of Sheol right here. That's because the roots to Yggdrasil, which is the tree of life, or the world tree in Norse mythology, the same tree that the one-eyed god Odin hangs himself upon or sits atop, that tree has three roots, three main roots that go down into the earth: anode, cathode, and your center, right? So if we look upwards, we also see that there is a firmament, and there are little instabilities or anomalies, I'll call them, on the firmament, little openings on the firmament. We've got one here, a couple here, one over here, one right here. These are minor compared to the large one at the center directly above what there should be a Mount Meru right here at the bottom, okay? But there is an opening. This would be where that inverted dome is up in the heavens in the sky, right? Up here, they even write gate of heaven. That means opening in the sky, if the heavens are the sky, cielo. So yeah, and actually the cloud almost kind of makes an inverted dome now that I checked that out right there, right? So this would be the all-seeing eye at the center of the world, the planet Saturn, because this goes through its same cycles just like the moon, right? And it develops what look to be horns as the lower portion is illuminated, and it's like the heavenly bull, which is destroyed from a spear or an arrow or whatever at the top of the world. Next up, you'll also see this. This is from Norse mythology. This is, now to me, this does not represent the entire world, okay, but the North Pole, basically, which to those who lived on it was or could have been seen as the entire world. Let's break down a little bit of the symbolism here. First and foremost, let's pay attention to the firmament, okay, the Norse version of the firmament, which is represented by these tree branches that are conforming to this dome shape as it reaches up and around to the top to meet Yggdrasil's top of its branches. This right here, Yggdrasil, shoots up out of a mountain. This is the trunk of Yggdrasil. This is the plasma volcano that is not growing a giant titanic tree out of it. Not saying there weren't giant trees in antiquity, but I am saying there were also huge terrestrial sky beams of light that shot from the ground up to the heavens and branched out like a tree and lit up. They were trees of light, essentially. And so this one reaches up and it branches out and it conforms to that eyeball shape that's directly above it, and it moves outward, right? And then you have it on the other side too. And then down here, you basically have paradise with the rivers going towards the mountain. Then you have the Ouroboros, or the serpent, Jormungandr, eating its own tail. It's not eating its tail, otherwise it would just shrink and shrink and shrink, and it would, I mean, that is possible. It could do that. But basically, to me, this is a dome of plasma. It's a plasma sheath that goes all the way around this magnetic island, and it creates a little mini dome or a barrier, an electromagnetic barrier, preventing access to the island to many different types of people, we'll say. And this is the Arctic Ocean, basically, which is why it's surrounded by ice. You know what I mean? So all that ice. And then down underneath Yggdrasil, you see its three roots, which are just other parts of the tree. It continues on. You've got anode, cathode, and the center beam, right? All right, so let's continue on. Oh, this is just another depiction. This is just to give you an example, right? You see the eye in the sky portrayed all throughout fiction and fantasy and sci-fi. Oftentimes there's some sort of evil Cthulhu type space tentacle monster or alien that has one eye, right? If you're a Doctor Who fan, you could probably think of one right off the top, right? But there's always like this one-eye symbolism. The Cyclops, weird tentacle monsters up there that come down from the heavens, sort of Lovecraftian in nature. These are the old ones. They're the immortal ones. They're the ones that do not die. They might go to sleep. They might take a break. They might disappear for a while, as will the terrestrial gods or energetic sources or goddesses or however you want to see them. They take turns ruling the atmosphere, ruling the air, ruling the vibrations and the frequency that is in the air due to the electromagnetism that's present at that time or during that age. We live right now during an age whenever it is dominated by a negative charge, a leftover charge, a residual charge, because that last time, all those blue beams, all the world pillars, the terrestrial beams of light, they retracted. They all went down at the same time. They disappeared. Now, when they were here, they pulse, okay? So you'll see them for like, a 50-year span or a 500-year span or however long it might be, but then they go back down for a limited time and then they rise up again. That's during the age of light. During the age of darkness, they all disappear for good as the earth charges and pulls its energy inward, saving it, collecting it, and amplifying it to redistribute it one day whenever we enter back into the age of light, which is the true daytime, which is when people can see clearly, which is when people wake up, which is when your mind is so energetically charged, all of your neurons are firing off and you're using most of your brain, and people have telepathy and people can feel one another's emotions and share memories by touching or not touching or whatever. And there is essentially magic in the world. The people will look up and there will be two factions. One that will worship the beam, the pillar, the pole, the tree, etc., and the others that will worship the halo, the eye, the circle, Nibiru, however you want to see it, right? The heavenly eye, God, or whatever. This makes its way into our fiction all over the place. This is a comic book called Eye in the Sky. The people are running from it. It's always, basically, it's usually seen as evil, except to the people that resonate on a similar spectrum. I would say a similar frequency, basically, right? I'm not saying it's evil incarnate or anything. Hey, welcome to my channel, Marmar. I'm just saying it's negatively charged energy, okay? So you see this making its way into our pop culture. You'll see this all over the place. If you look at this in the movies, we break this down in the movies all the time. You will always see this symbolism. The rod in the eye, the beam in the eye, the plank in the eye, the arrow to the eye, or the bull's eye, right? This was also in Three Body Problem, right? Whenever the whole sky lit up and it was a perfect reflection of everything on the ground, that's reality. If you were to light up the firmament, it would reflect that light back down to us and we would see ourselves and you'd be able to wave at yourself. I mean, probably not because you'd be so tiny because the firmament goes way high up. But you definitely see large objects, you know, like continents and stuff. All right, so here's another version. This is more of what looks like, you know, a Freemasonic type artwork. It says, let there be light, and there was light, and the light is not coming from the sun or the moon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, so the same thing, those 7 septentrio. But the light is coming from a doorway in the sky, a dalet, a triangle, delta, and there is an eyeball in the middle of it. Okay, it is an opening in the eye above us, the sky being the eye itself. And then you have the beam, of course, that shoots up towards it and touches it and meets it in the heavens. We also have the similar things we've already talked about. We got like 2 George Washingtons. Check that out. There's like one here and one there. I don't think George Washington was a real person, but that's a totally different video. Anode, cathode on either side. All right, let's continue on. Here's another example. We got the all-seeing eye in the dalet, in the delta, or the doorway up in the heavens. And then you see this light that's just radiating out of it, right? This isn't sunlight. Sunlight doesn't do that, right? These are cosmic light that is coming into our world from a rip in the sky. You can see this portrayed. We get more symbolism, we get more context the more images we have as they're put together, right? This is not just like one image of like a, you know, a landscape or something that makes sense. These are all, this is a message, okay? When you read things like Freemasonic symbolism and other types of symbolism, the more pictures, especially when they seem random and unrelated, the more pictures you have together, the more of the message you're being given. That message is usually read from top to bottom. It all depends, and it can change too. But here you have these pillars, right? The pillars of heaven. And you have a column, which represents the firmament. And the firmament is broken, and there is a light going through the firmament up to this stargate that's up in the heavens, right? Beacon, what's up, Beacon? Welcome to my channel. Wow, 631 people watching. That is awesome. I'm honored. I'm Jay Dreamers. Welcome to my channel. I'm humbled and I'm thankful that so many people are interested in things like this. If you're interested in things like this, might as well plug my website real quick, jdreamers.com. You can get lots of awesome visuals. I've spent years and years putting together this website. It goes over the Plasma Apocalypse, Ancient Oblivion, and you can also buy my books, okay? Great addition to any Truth Seekers library. I know lots of people are buying them as Christmas gifts and stuff for loved ones or whatever. My first book is all about the actual plasma apocalypse, hitting the Cliffs Notes. My second book is all about Hyperborea, the Garden of Eden, plasma volcanoes, and strange inhabitants that mutated due to electromagnetic radiation and other things too. All right, here's another example. We have it here on the right, if I can get up there. So on the left, you see the sun, and there is a circle, a cloud circle around it. Interesting that there's red behind it. On the other side, you have what would be the moon on the other side, right? And it's a circle. But in the middle, you don't have a circle. You just have a dome, an inverted dome with a crown, right? The king, the ruling light of the heavens. And then you have these horns that are sticking out of it. Why? Because when the sky depressurizes, it's loud. Have you ever heard like a tea kettle go off? You'll hear 3 consecutive booms, if I'm correct, okay? You'll hear anode, cathode, as the inner earth is depressurizing. And then the loudest boom of all is that central point up in the heavens where the sky depressurizes at the apex of the firmament right up here, right? They have these buildings with the 4 columns. These are the 4 living creatures, 4 witnesses, also 4 pillars. And then we have like the triangle to the top of the roof here that represents Mount Meru. Let's continue on. Oh, here's 3-body problem, actually. So this is a scene from 3-body problem. Whenever, in short, the sky revealed the true firmament is what happened in this movie, 3-body problem. I think it was on Netflix. Made of Scars. Hey, I like that name. That's cool. Welcome to my channel. All right, so in 3-body problem, the firmament was seen as it lit up. Esco, what's up, Esco? When it does this, they put an eye made out of light. And up here, these are buildings, okay? You can see the surface of our world reflected in the mirror above us. This is why, Alice goes through the looking glass. This is why Mickey steps through the mirror and all of the, mirror travel symbolism. You can't just walk through a mirror, okay? I don't know how many people have tried. I have definitely touched them a few times, like wondering, but it's symbolic for the firmament being a reflective surface. So whenever the terrestrial lights light it up, that light reflects back down and you can see the whole world, just like they are right now. They're looking up and they can see the whole world. Now, obviously, it's going to be a bit distorted whenever you get to this inverted dome down here. It's going to act just like those security mirrors that you see at stores and stuff, right? Where they show you a 360-degree, view of it or whatever. Now, if that's true, on this inverted dome, if it acts like a mirror, in the ancient world, what they should see when they look up is this. They should see this exact shape. They should see an outer circle, an inner circle, or the bullseye, the target, and then they should see 4 lines coming out of it, right? Let's check that out. Let's continue on for a bit, and I'll do a little drawing and show you what I mean. Here's another Renaissance picture or medieval picture painting. Somebody sitting on a throne, an angel coming up to them. But up here, you can see at the very top, if I can zoom in far enough. Yes, the picture of what looks like Jesus's face, an inverted dome, a blue circular dome at the top, at the heavens, and then a blue light going right up to it with like a dove coming down. There is energy coming down out of the sky from an eye in the sky, from the eye god or the sky god. Here's another one. This one's takes a bit more of an open mind to interpret, but this guy is looking upwards towards the heavens. Let me make that so you can see it a little better. There's an inverted blue dome up there, a portion of the firmament itself, and then it has what appears to be, at first glance, a flower. This is really the sun, and then a crescent. This is really the moon, which tells me this object is responsible for creating both. The sun, a point of focus, light redirected to a point and then redistributed to what we call daytime, and then a projection of the actual surface of a portion of the firmament that we call the moon. The moon being a reflective object, the actual physical moon, that reflects our very world back down to us. And we see the reflection of our world in the moon. Donut! What's up, Donut? Danger Mouse, good to see you. Is that Danger Mouse? Hold on, let me jump in the chat. Is that... Oh, man. I can't. Well, thank you, Donut. That chat's going to take forever to catch up. You see that? Dang. All right, let's continue on. Here's an interesting relief. It's such a relief, isn't it? Anyways, it is such a relief for me to see things like this because this corroborates my theory that I've been discussing, that these holy people, one with a cross behind his head and one with a halo, they look up, they're regarding the heavens. This is why in so many ancient paintings, you see people like mysteriously like pointing up, staring right at you, right? They're warning you. They're telling you there is doom above. Dr. Doom, Dr. Dome, the dome above us, right? An inverted dome that is responsible for creating the very stars in our entire sky. You see that? They put the stars in this inverted dome because this is the moon, the physical, actual, real moon. When they show you the fake pictures of the moon, there's a reason why it's white. It's ice, okay? It's like, it's made out of ice. Not the fake moon or whatever. I'm talking about the real one. That's portion of the firmament. So we have domes and craters and whatnot, and how the light behind it passes through will be different every time it hits like a different dome or crater that is on the actual firmament itself. Now, if you're on the outside of the firmament, this would be a huge crater. You'd walk down into this valley, you know what I mean? But to us underneath, this is the all-seeing eye. This is the eye in the sky. This is also the mouth of Kronos. This is the head of Medusa when the snakes come out of it and whatnot. This is the Aegis or the Aegis or the shield of Zeus and so on and so forth. Now, let's take a look at some drawings here. I like visuals, okay? I'm a visual person, so I've done a little drawing. This is just a rudimentary drawing of a snow globe type Earth, okay? With the land down here and the firmament up above. However, there's a problem with this firmament. It doesn't have the shapes that we've been discussing. So let's take a look here as we add different layers. Now, electromagnetically, these are the lines that it would follow if it was a true cup or bowl shape or dome, right? The electromagnetics would circle around. This would actually be spinning around. It's three-dimensional, remember, right? And it would follow it going all the way down during one season before the polarity flips. And then, I don't want to share that one. Let's do this one. Okay, so here we go. Boom. So whenever you put a hole into that firmament, because it will blow out, right? And then you run electricity back through the firmament, the electricity is going to wrap around the edges, and it's going to basically create a magnetic bubble right here. Okay. Now, that strong magnetic bubble is also going to keep back all of the gases that will rush up to the high places in the atmosphere that are freezing cold. Those gases will instantly turn back into ice, and the dome will fix itself. The firmament will be healed. It's self-healing. It's self-fixing. But that new ice will conform to that magnetic shape, which is this inverted dome up above us, right? All right. If you're still with me, let's continue on even further. Here, let me share this. So this is from, oh man, I just spaced the name. The confinement dome. Damn, if somebody in the chat remind me of like the guy I'm thinking of that has a YouTube channel that did this. I just drew a blank. It's no disrespect to him or anything, but I want to use this as an example, okay? If you know the channel, please leave their name in the chat because my mind just spaced right now. But anyways, this red thing represents a magnetic bowl, okay? So this is all a magnet. Now, you put a hole at the bottom of that magnetic bowl, and I actually have one down on my refrigerator, and it creates what's called a confinement dome. Let me see if anybody remembers that guy's name. One sec. Let me just reload my chat. Because I want to give him a shout out, and I feel bad that I totally just forgot his name live on the air. David the Point. Yes, the Primer Fields. Oh my God, you guys are the best. Thank you. I feel so much better now because he deserves a lot of recognition. And he's an interesting guy. You got to check out his theories and his inventions as well. So anyways, so this is represented. The red is a bowl, okay, and it's magnetic. And because there's a hole in the middle, it creates a confinement dome, or a dome that confines the electrical energy inside of it, the electromagnetic energy inside of it. And you can see the arrows, they point in the direction that the energy is flowing. So outside of that dome, they're pointing downwards, right? And they would just kind of wrap around the dome, which is what happens to our world. I could easily insert our world right here at the bottom. Okay, our little flat world right there. This would be the firmament, okay? And then on the inside of that confinement dome, pressure builds and builds and builds. Joshua Bridges, good to see you. Pressure is building up as gases are being released from Sheol, from the underworld, and from the surface world where we live. Every time things are born and die and stuff, gases are released, and there's other things. The ocean's releasing gas, volcanoes are releasing gas. Pressure is building. As that pressure builds, eventually this will pop. Eventually, all that energy will bust out and shoot out of the top of it. Now, let's back up a bit and let's superimpose this, but let's flip it upside down. And let's take a look at how this is the firmament. Flip it upside down. And then I'll just go ahead and lower the opacity so you can see through it. Boom. And there you have it. It is a magnetic bowl, but it is upside down if we make it the firmament, okay? So in this example, it's just upside down, right? So you can see there kind of how it works. Thank you again, David Lapointe, or Lapointe. I'm not sure how to say the name. But yeah, this is a perfect example of why the firmament is shaped like this. It has to do with the electromagnetics of our very world and the gases that freeze into ice up above us. All right, sweet. So I'm going to get rid of that one real quick. And I want to share this. So this is what that depressurization point would look like if, hypothetically, you survived the next apocalyptic cycle and that huge star lit up in the sky above us or whatever, the all-seeing eye, it lights up, okay? The center portion, which is the hole in the sky, would be the darkest. It would be the most colorful, okay? Really showing that red spectrum plasma, ionized hydrogen on the other side of it. The rest of that inverted dome, this would just look like a circle to you, okay? If you're directly underneath it, it would be difficult to understand that this is a dome shape. I mean, you could, but it'd be easy to just misconstrue it for something else, or even three-dimensional as like a planet or something. People would consider this to be a planet with a big ring around it, or Saturn, or Kronos, or this is the eye of Odin, the Eternal One, right? But remember, plasma will come out of that hole. The plasma that is outside of the firmament will reach down in whenever the magnetic barrier disappears, which keeps it from coming in. That magnetic barrier disappears, a physical hole opens up in the firmament itself, and snakes, serpents of plasma will follow the dome all the way around, right? Oh, but before that, I forgot to mention, if it's reflecting the four rivers of paradise directly below it, as I believe it does, this is what you will see. A cross, which is why people have seen a cross in the sun and a cross in the moon. You'll see this shape right here because it's reflecting those four rivers of paradise directly below it, as well as the lake that's directly below it. Now, if we go ahead and go a step further, you can superimpose paradise, which is this Arctic land right here on top of it, and you can see, right? This is what it would look like. You would look up and you'd be able to map it out and draw it out and everything. Let's see. Let me go up a bit. Now, this is a crude drawing, but you can imagine when plasma does seep out of the center portion of this eye, right? Or this stargate, this black hole, however you want to see it, it's going to go around the dome all the way out to the outside. But once it hits the outside edge and the jet stream picks it up, it will blow it in the direction of the jet stream, which is from west to east. Okay, so you will have these four lines that come out and then they break. It becomes a broken cross. There's many other names for this particular shape as well, but it can be seen as a symbol of both good luck, depending on your perspective. I would see it as good luck because I don't like the time that we live in right now. I can't wait for the apocalypse. I can't wait for an age of magic to return to the world. I don't care if there's monsters. I don't care if there's giants. I don't care if there's all that stuff. Anything's better to me than government, and no energy and sleeping all day and being consumers and stuff. Or it could be fortune or it could be misfortune. Okay? Depends on your luck or your Loki, basically. I think that's all the drawings I had for you. I was also going to relate this to like the skyboat idea, but I don't think I'm going to get into that right now. You could make the case that this whole skyboat, right, is basically just the dome above as seen from an angle, right? And then this is basically like the Egyptian version of the phoenix. There's always a cosmic bird, right? This cosmic bird that wears a red circle on its head, right? That's the depressurization point in the inverted dome or whatever. But I don't want to get down too many rabbit holes right now. I want to thank everybody. There's 680 people watching right now. That's one of the highest numbers I've ever had, and I'm speechless at this particular moment. I'm speechless. Thank you all for watching and checking it out and having open minds. And all the people in the chat are the Good Vibe Tribe. You guys are the coolest. People contribute. People add to the conversation. We're not here to debate. We're not here to declare, oh, this guy's right about everything. And, we don't do culty stuff here or anything. We just come together. I take my puzzle pieces and I just show them to you because I know you've got some. Okay. And you look around your little puzzle collection and you find the pieces that maybe match one or two of mine. And you just hold on to the rest because you might come across another YouTube channel or somebody else in life, that can provide those other missing pieces. I think that would do us well. I also want to give a huge shout out to another channel, Library of the Untold. I'm going to be over on his channel later. We met each other. He sent me his book. So I don't know if he's watching right now, but wow, look at right? I showed a bunch of this on today's presentation. This is the cover of his book. This is called Book of Wonderful Suffering by J.W. Phipps. I'm excited. I'm going to be an honored guest over on his channel after his main presentation. We're going to have like a casual live stream over there. Feel free to join us. I'll probably put a link in the community section. Thank you so much for joining me. Do go check out my books. If you want a free, you can read like the first 10 pages for free on my website or on Amazon.com. And if you go to my website, you can actually buy my book and purchase it from me personally. I've got many copies of my book here. I autograph every single one. So if you order directly from me, you'll get an autograph. You might also get things like merch, depending on which package you choose. You might get bookmarks that I have created. I've got mini posters of like Mount Meru and stuff, really beautiful artistic versions of Mount Meru with the plasma bursting out of the top and stuff. As well as J-Dreamer stickers and other cool things too. So check out my website, jdreamers.com. Check out my books, Ancient Oblivion, The Plasma Apocalypse, and Return to Hyperborea. Until next time, I'm J-Dreamers, saying good vibes and goodbye.